Welcome back to At Issue. I'm Candice Batista. Well, I love food and would really love to grow my own, but there are days that even a trip to the grocery store seems impossible, due mostly to tiredness and sometimes even laziness. Recognizing this trend, 3 recent business grads came together and formed Young Urban Farmers, a service that turns clients' yards into produce departments. We'll meet one of them in just a few minutes, but first, community shared agriculture is in demand. Take a look.
Our community shared agriculture program is an alternative program, really, that enables organic farmers to continue to farm. It's alternative in various ways. People become members of the CSA, and by their membership they have a share of the harvest. And so we make a commitment to them that we will deliver for 20 weeks, in our case, food. And they actually literally get a share of the harvest. So we just divide our harvest that many ways.
The community shared agriculture model brings the community component of agriculture back to a scale where members are not only connected to the farm, but have a relationship with the farm and its growing practices.
One of the aspects of CSA is diversity, and ecological diversity obviously is a big portion of that. And so on our fields, our vegetable fields, we actually have over 60 different crops.
On various parts of the property, they have cover crops, which just might be the hardest working plants they'll ever grow. Also known as green manure, cover crops suppress weeds, build productive soil, and help control pests and disease. They'll grow on you because they're easy to plant and only need basic care to thrive.
We have our field divided into different blocks where we grow certain types of plants. So right here behind me, this is a nightshade area, and so there's tomatoes and peppers and eggplants. But we make sure those groupings of plants are going to move somewhere else in the field later.
Moving crops around on a farm mimics ecological diversity. The idea is to create a natural ecosystem where there are lots of different things growing together.
Our job. We get to eat vegetables all day long.
The goal of organic agriculture, any agriculture I suppose, is to produce amazing food. And so the way that we rotate our crops helps to bring nutrients up from different levels, right? Because if you have the same crop growing in the same area, you're going to keep on drawing on the same types of nutrients that crop is in high demand for. By moving things around, you're accessing different layers in the soil and different strata in this direction as well. And then the other thing that you're doing is you're confusing the pests and the diseases, right? So, because often those are soil-borne, and so you need to move the crops around so that you don't build up a certain type of disease.
I think it's important to know where we get our food from. It's like our main source of energy, and it's what we live on, so it's pretty important to know where we get it from and what kind of impact it has on our environment. And I think growing organic is important. It's a low impact and sustainable.
Certainly have concerns around the use of pesticides and herbicides in agriculture. In terms of why I get it here, I think it's important to support the local economy, as well as a lot of the environmental benefits of buying organic food that's been grown across the world is lost when you're trucking it across country. And there's just also the matter of freshness.
Growing food this way is good, but the model of community shared agriculture is even tastier. That's probably why more and more people are saying, sign me up.
Well, CSAs are popping up all over. In Ontario, for example, there are over 250. Christopher Wong is one of the founders of Young Urban Farmers, an organization dedicated to helping people in the city grow their own food. Pretty neat idea. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
Thank you for having me, Candice.
So how did this come about? I mean, you're so young. How did you get into the farm movement or the food movement?
So good food has always been something that myself and my colleagues have always enjoyed. And when we finished our education in the business field, we realized that we all had a passion for entrepreneurship. We got together one day and looked at what was happening in the world. We saw that people were looking for organic food, for locally grown food, as well as looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprints. So we had one of those aha moments where we said, why don't we put together a service where we can help people to set up a vegetable garden for them and even help to maintain them if they so desire.
So how do you do that, Christopher? I mean, is this for anybody? Can you live in a home or an apartment?
So there's two different programs that we run at Young Urban Farmers. The first one is a private service where we help people to set up vegetable gardens, and it's not limited just to your backyard, as you may originally think. But we've helped people set up gardens in their front yard, and we've even helped people set up gardens right on their balconies. So it doesn't matter where you have the space available, as long as you have a sunny area, then we can help you to get growing some of the freshest and most delicious produce right from your own yard.
Why is that so important today?
I think that a lot of people just have lost touch of where their food comes from, who grows it, how it's grown, how it's processed, how long it's being stored in transits, and people really want to get back to growing their own food. So by giving them the tools and equipping them by getting them a fast-track method to set up their own garden, we allow people to really see what it's like to grow their own food firsthand.
From your experience so far, what are people's biggest challenges? Is it planting the food? Is it making sure the food grows? I mean, Canada's kind of an interesting idea because of the cold. So
Yes.
are those some of the challenges people face? For me, I just find it kind of overwhelming that I'll plant something and it'll just die.
I think for many people, they find just the entire process to be sometimes a little bit more complicated than it should be. For example, what kind of bed should I use? What kind of soil mix to include? And even whether or not to start directly from seeds or to get transplants from your garden center or farmers markets. All of those things sometimes make it a little bit overwhelming for many individuals. And that's, I think, where we help to come in by consulting with them and giving them the tools and the information on knowing how to get started.
And where did you find all that information? You said you were in business school. So how did you transfer that to food and food production?
So one of the things that we learned and we discovered for myself with Jing and Nancy, my two other partners, is that we all helped our parents tend to our own backyard vegetable gardens when we were growing up as children.
Wow.
And from those experiences, and then through reading up and talking to experts who have more experience and knowledge than us, we equipped ourselves with the right information on how to be growing food, especially in an urban setting, which is a little bit different and has its own nuances compared to the rural setting.
Can you give me some examples?
So for example, being in an urban setting, there's a lot more trees and buildings to take into consideration. When you're in the downtown area, for example, it creates more wind tunnels, and the reflection of light off of different buildings sometimes creates areas where sometimes we can grow things a little bit easier,
Sure.
but also sometimes where it's a little bit more challenging.
And that's where you come in.
Exactly.
So can anyone grow anything in their backyards or their balconies? Or because of those things you just noted, does that make it more challenging in certain areas?
For the most part, I like to tell people that gardening is not as difficult as you would imagine. And it's one of those things where as soon as you start, then you learn every step along the way. And year after year, you learn different nuances on how to become a better gardener. And I think that anyone and everyone, as long as they have a sunny area, that's really the main challenge for some people.
Sure.
If you have a sunny area, then you can probably be growing a whole bunch of edibles in your yard.
It's pretty awesome, I have to say. I might have to call you in the summer.
Great.
Now, you mentioned that your organization is made up of two different components. The other component is community shared agriculture. And we saw in the video how that's growing, not only here in Ontario, but across the world. Is that why you added that component?
So the reason why we started our community shared agriculture program was because of the overwhelmingly positive response we had, not just from our customers, but from other people in the community who were looking to get involved in an urban growing project. The reason why we started it was more as a community initiative to help to feed people in different neighborhoods across Toronto. And right now we're operating in 3 different neighborhoods, in Lawrence Park, in the Witchwood neighborhood, and in Riverdale. And to show people in a real and tangible way how much food you can grow, and to be an example for other people in other neighborhoods and in other cities to start up similar initiatives.
Well, thank you, Christopher. That's a wealth of information. And I have to say, you know, for somebody so young, it's a really impressive organization, and I'm sure you're just going to continue to grow. Pun intended.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Well, that's it for this edition of At Issue. You can email your comments or thoughts to comments@ichannel.ca. I'm Candice Batista. Thanks for watching.